Devastating. End Beach Boys legend. Brian Wilson's death at 82. Shocks fans. His final days revealed. Brian Wilson, the musical genius behind the Beach Boys, died at age 82, leaving fans across the world in shock and grief. The world lost one of music's most legendary figures, whose creative vision reshaped American pop music. The Beach Boys reached incredible heights under his leadership, placing 13 singles in the Billboard Top 10 during their golden period from 1962 to 1966. This success proved Wilson's exceptional songwriting talent. His final months were filled with health struggles. The New York Times reported in 2024 that Wilson had dementia. His condition worsened, and a California judge placed him under conservatorship due to a major neurocognitive disorder just a month before his death. Wilson's musical genius lives on through his work. His masterpiece, Pet Sounds, stands as the pinnacle of top 40 pop, as existential reverie even 60 years later. The Beach Boys stand as one of America's most influential bands, with 15 top 10 hits on the Billboard 100 between 1962 and 2021. Wilson's achievements earned him and the band's original members a place in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1988. Brian Wilson dies at 82 after long health battle. Brian Wilson, the legendary musician from the Beach Boys, died at age 82. His family confirmed the news on June 11, 2025. The announcement sent shockwaves through the music industry and touched millions of fans worldwide who had followed his remarkable career for over 6 decades. Wilson's musical breakthroughs shaped generations of artists. He had faced health challenges recently, including a dementia diagnosis. Family confirms death on Instagram. The heartbreaking news came through a statement on Wilson's official Instagram account. We are heartbroken to announce that our beloved father, Brian Wilson, has passed away. We are at a loss for words right now. Please respect our privacy at this time as our family is grieving. The statement read. The statement also acknowledged their shared loss with fans worldwide. We realize that we are sharing our grief with the world. Love and mercy. Carney Wilson. His daughter posted an emotional tribute on her Instagram account that expressed her deep grief. I have no words to express the sadness I feel right now. My father was every fiber of my body. He will be remembered by millions and millions until the world ends. She added, I've never felt this kind of pain before, but I know he's resting up there in heaven, or maybe playing the piano for Grandma Audrey, his mom. Wilson made his last public appearance in May 2024 at the TCL Chinese Theater in Los Angeles. He attended the premiere of the Disney Plus documentary The Beach Boys. Reports indicated he seemed cheerful while posing for photos with former bandmates David Marks, Al Jardine, Blondie Chaplin, Mike Love, and Bruce Johnston. No official cause of death shared. The family's announcement confirmed Wilson's death without revealing a specific cause. Court documents from early 2024, after his wife, Melinda Wilson's death at 77, showed Brian had a major neurocognitive disorder, such as dementia. This led to a conservatorship in May 2024 with Leanne Hard and Gene Sievers, longtime Wilson family representatives, becoming his conservators. The conservatorship filing stated Wilson was unable to properly provide for his or her personal needs for physical health food, clothing, or shelter. His doctor noted that despite medication to slow the progression of illness, Wilson was easily distracted often, even when aware of his surroundings. Public and celebrity tributes pour in. Tributes from fellow musicians, celebrities, and fans flooded social media after the announcement. The remaining Beach Boys members honored the soul of our sound, saying, "The world mourns a genius today, and we grieve for the loss of our cousin, our friend, and our partner in a great musical adventure." Music legends shared heartfelt messages. Bruce Springsteen called Wilson the most musically inventive voice in all of pop, with an otherworldly ear for harmony. Bob Dylan shared, "Heard the sad news about Brian today and thought about all the years I've been listening to him and admiring his genius. Rest in peace, dear Brian." Elton John remembered Wilson as the biggest influence on my songwriting ever and a musical genius and revolutionary. Paul McCartney wrote, "Brian had that mysterious sense of musical genius that made his songs so achingly special." John Cusack, who portrayed Wilson in the 2014 biopic Love and Mercy, described him as an open heart with two legs, with an ear that heard the angels. Nancy Sinatra shared that, "One of the biggest thrills of my life was singing California Girls with Brian." Gene Sievers, Wilson's manager, offered a touching tribute. "Brian gave so much to the world through his music, his spirit, and his strength. He was a sweet, gentle soul, as well as fierce competitor. There will never, ever be anyone like him again." God truly broke the mold when he created Brian Wilson. Carney revealed that her father stayed connected to music in his final months. She shared on a podcast that she would play him a random song like "Baby Come Back," and he's listening. He's like, "I like that one," and then we'll listen to Chicago. She emphasized that her father knew how deeply his music touched fans worldwide. What happened to Brian Wilson in his final year? Brian Wilson's final year brought deep personal loss and health problems that required legal help to ensure his care. The Beach Boys founder, now 81 years old, needed new arrangements for his daily life after losing the person who cared for him most. Wife Melinda's death in January 2024. Melinda Wilson died at their Beverly Hills home at age 77 in January 2024. She was the lifeblood of Brian Wilson's life for almost 30 years. She managed his care and gave him emotional stability. Brian shared his grief on Instagram. "My heart is broken. Melinda, my beloved wife of 28 years, passed away this morning. Our 5 children and I are just in tears. We are lost." Brian's touching tribute showed Melinda's vital role in his life. "Melinda was more than my wife. She was my savior. She gave me the emotional security I needed to have a career. She encouraged me to make the music that was closest to my heart. She was my anchor." Their story began in 1986 at a Cadillac dealership where Melinda worked as a sales representative. They dated on and off before marrying in 1995 and adopting 5 children. Melinda helped Brian break free from psychologist Eugene Landy's controversial treatment in the early 1990s. "I regained my life when the Dr. Landy program was terminated," Brian told The Times in 1998. "She helped me get back into the swing of things. I started dealing with society and becoming a part of it again." Conservatorship granted due to dementia. Brian's family took legal steps to protect his care after Melinda died. They filed for conservatorship in February 2024 because Brian had dementia. Court documents revealed he took medication for his condition and could not properly provide for his own personal needs for physical health, food, clothing, or shelter. Medical records showed Brian had a major neurocognitive disorder that affected his self-care abilities. His doctor noted major impairments in information processing and alertness. Los Angeles Superior Court Judge Gus T. May granted the conservatorship in May 2024. The evidence showed Brian agreed to this arrangement and could not make healthcare decisions. The petition only covered Brian's personal care since his money was already protected in a trust. Publicist and manager appointed as caretakers: Gene Sievers, Brian's publicist, and Leanne Hard, his business manager, became co-conservators. These women had close ties with Brian and Melinda for many years, and Brian trusted them. The family said this choice matched the couple's earlier plans. The family explained to the New York Times in February 2024, "This decision was made to ensure that there will be no extreme changes to the household, and Brian and the children living at home will be taken care of and remain in the home where they are cared for." The conservatorship included these key points. Brian would stay in his Beverly Hills home with 2 daughters and a long-term caregiver. He would keep seeing family friends and work on creative projects. Carney and Wendy Wilson would know about their father's medical decisions. Court attorney Robert Frank Cipriano visited Brian and reported he could move with a walker and helper. Brian knew who he was, his location, and the time, though he only remembered the names of children living with him. Despite health challenges, Sievers mentioned that Brian stayed physically healthy and guides a full life and is currently working on projects. His daughter Carney told People that her father was well taken care of and living in so much gratitude. How Brian Wilson's health declined over decades. Brian Wilson's musical legacy spans 6 remarkable decades. Behind his extraordinary creativity lay a troubled mind that fought constant health challenges. The Beach Boys co-founder lived through a complex mix of mental health disorders, substance dependencies, and physical limitations that shaped his music and life. Struggles with schizoaffective disorder. The mid-1960s marked the start of Brian Wilson's mental health decline, right when his creativity peaked. Doctors first thought he had paranoid schizophrenia. Later, they identified his condition as schizoaffective disorder, which combined schizophrenia symptoms with mood disorder elements. His first major nervous breakdown happened in 1964, on a flight to Houston during a concert tour. This event led him to stop regular touring with the Beach Boys. Gene Landy, the controversial psychologist who controlled Wilson's life in the 1980s, described his condition as a schizoaffective disorder with bipolar components. Wilson often said, "Every day I wake up afraid." His condition showed through paranoid delusions. He believed Phil Spector followed him and that his songs held harmful messages. Auditory hallucinations and depression. Life dealt a cruel hand to this musical genius. Wilson suffered constant auditory hallucinations throughout his adult years. "I've been hearing voices in my head for as long as I can remember," he wrote in his autobiography. These voices would criticize and berate him. His internal struggle grew worse during stressful times. The hallucinations started in 1963 after Wilson began experimenting with psychedelic drugs. He would tell musicians during recording sessions that he was hearing things, not the music, but voices nobody else could hear. These audio disturbances grew so bad that Wilson started talking to invisible people. Depression hit Wilson hard too. He spent 3 years in the 1970s barely leaving his bedroom. His family found him unable to get out of bed for days. He became overweight and lost touch with reality. A sad irony emerged. The man who created music's most uplifting harmonies lived with a mind full of tormenting, discordant voices, substance abuse, and hearing loss. Wilson tried to treat his mental health problems with drugs. His substance use started as typical 1960s music scene experimentation, but turned into addiction. Heavy use of cocaine, psychedelics, and alcohol in the 1970s made his fragile mental state worse. Eugene Landy strictly controlled Wilson's substance use from 1983 to 1991. Many critics said Landy's methods were manipulative and exploitative. Wilson struggled with sobriety after courts ordered Landy out of his life. Wilson also dealt with major hearing loss in his right ear, reportedly from his father, Murray Wilson's childhood abuse. This physical challenge deeply affected a man whose genius centered on creating new sounds. Wilson adapted remarkably well. He created complex harmonies and orchestrations despite his partial hearing. Wilson said his partial deafness influenced his unique production style. "I think it made me focus more on feeling the music rather than just hearing it technically." His sensory limits and mental health battles created obstacles but also shaped his groundbreaking approach to music. These tough health challenges lasted decades. Yet Wilson's creative spirit stayed strong, leaving a lasting mark on music history that went beyond his personal suffering. Why Brian Wilson left the stage, but not the studio. A life-changing moment in music history unfolded on December 23, 1964. Brian Wilson suffered a nervous breakdown during a flight to Houston. The whole ordeal changed his career path forever and set the stage for the Beach Boys' most state-of-the-art creative period. Retreat from touring in 1964. Wilson, just 22 years old, experienced a severe panic attack 5 minutes into the Houston flight for a scheduled Beach Boys concert. His bandmate, Al Jardine, remembered, "We were really scared for him. He obviously had a breakdown. None of us had ever witnessed something like that." The Houston press documented Wilson crying and screaming on the cabin floor. The band found Wilson in a hotel after landing, begging to return home. His condition deteriorated despite their attempts to help him rest. Later that night, they discovered him nearly paralyzed in his dressing room. The group performed without him and sent him back to Los Angeles. Wilson explained his departure from touring. "I felt I had no choice. I was run down mentally and emotionally because I was running around, jumping on jets from one city to another on one-night stands, also producing, writing, arranging, singing, planning, teaching, to the point where I had no peace of mind and no chance to actually sit down and think or even rest." This breakdown became the first of what Wilson later called a series of 3 breakdowns. His step back from live performances stemmed in part from what he described as a fucked-up jealousy of Phil Spector and the Beatles. Focus on studio innovation. Wilson's studio retreat revolutionized popular music. Music historian Jack Hamilton observed, "It was unusual in 1964 for a rock and roll artist not to be out on the road. But it guides him to focusing a lot of his attention on recording and making these studio masterpieces." Wilson channeled his creative energy into writing and recording with meticulous attention to detail. His cousin, Mike Love, commented on his perfectionist nature. "I used to refer to him as the Stalin of the studio. He was totally in command up to pet sounds and smile." This creative period yielded what many consider Wilson's most influential work. Pet Sounds, 1966, ranked number 2 on Rolling Stone's list of the 500 greatest albums of all time, Good Vibrations single, considered revolutionary in production techniques. Smile project, though initially unfinished due to Wilson's mental health challenges. Wilson remained the Beach Boys' creative force, even without touring. His state-of-the-art studio work and melodic genius transformed pop music, making him one of history's most influential figures in contemporary music. Return for 50th Anniversary Tour. Wilson made an unexpected return to the stage almost 5 decades after his touring retreat. The Beach Boys' 50th Anniversary Reunion Tour in 2012 saw him perform consistently with the band for the first time since 1982. The worldwide reunion included 72 concerts. Wilson, then 69, acknowledged it as quite a rough, grueling tour. All the same, he found joy in reuniting with his bandmates, noting, "I enjoyed being with the guys. Traveling was the hardest part." The tour and its album, That's Why God Made the Radio, honored Wilson's brothers Dennis, who drowned in 1983, and Carl lost to cancer in 1998. Wilson continued performing after the Beach Boys reunion, starting a Pet Sounds 50th Anniversary World Tour with Al Jardine and Blondie Chaplin from 2016-2020. Wilson reflected on overcoming decades of stage fright. "I was nervous. My first couple of years of performing solo. I didn't think I'd ever be able to perform on stage again, but I finally overcame my fear." The 2004 Smile premiere in London marked his breakthrough. "That was the big turning point. We were so well received that it made me feel confident about my concerts." Wilson's later years featured more extensive touring than ever before. He continued performing until 2022, at age 79, a remarkable achievement given his lifelong battle with stage anxiety. How Brian Wilson shaped the Beach Boys' sound. Brian Wilson's true genius shone through his groundbreaking approach to music creation beyond the stage lights and personal challenges. A visionary stood at the heart of the Beach Boys' distinctive sound. His brilliant compositions changed the pop music scene forever. Role as songwriter and producer. Wilson became the chief architect of their musical identity right from the band's start. The Beach Boys stood out from other rock bands of the early 1960s. They had a rare musical prodigy who wrote and produced their material. Wilson's exceptional ear for harmony came in part from his childhood influences. The Four Freshmen's jazz-influenced vocal arrangements and Phil Spector's intricate wall of sound technique shaped his musical perspective. Wilson took unprecedented control over every recording aspect as composer and producer. He hired session musicians later known as the Wrecking Crew instead of band members for instrumental tracks. This choice helped him achieve a perfection the band's limited playing abilities couldn't match. He also used the Beach Boys' exceptional vocal talents to create his signature multi-layered harmonies. Creation of Pet Sounds and Good Vibrations. Wilson's masterpiece arrived with 1966's Pet Sounds, which he created while the rest of the group toured Japan. This album marked a huge leap in production techniques. He combined unusual instruments like bicycle bells, dog whistles, and Coca-Cola cans with classical elements and complex vocal arrangements. Good Vibrations, often called Wilson's Pocket Symphony, needed 6 months and 4 studios to complete, unheard of for a single at that time. The song's modular recording approach broke new ground. He recorded sections separately and spliced them together, spending an extraordinary $50,000 equivalent to $400,000 today. These works showed Wilson's creative vision when most artists simply recorded their live performances in studios. He created soundscapes impossible to recreate on stage. Influence on Beatles and pop music. Wilson's breakthroughs reached across the Atlantic and deeply affected the Beatles. Paul McCartney has often named Pet Sounds as direct inspiration for Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, calling it the album that changed my life. Wilson lifted pop music from simple entertainment to serious art. His innovative use of the studio as an instrument, not just a recording facility, created a template for future musicians and producers. His melodic sophistication, harmonic complexity, and production techniques are the foundations that countless artists built their sound on. Wilson's genius ended up surpassing the Beach Boys themselves. He established a musical legacy that continues to influence artists of all genres more than 6 decades after his career began. Who are the surviving Beach Boys members now? Brian Wilson's passing shifts our focus to the surviving original members of the iconic group, who still keep the Beach Boys' legacy alive today. Mike Love and Al Jardine still active. Mike Love, at 84, stands as the only Beach Boy who has performed with the group since its beginning. He tours under the Beach Boys name with longtime member Bruce Johnston. Love's contributions include co-writing many of the band's hits. He won a lawsuit for songwriting credits on 35 songs in the early 1990s and received a $5 million settlement. His relationship with Brian Wilson had its ups and downs, but he joined the band's 50th anniversary reunion tour in 2012. Al Jardine, 82, keeps his musical career thriving since leaving the main group after Carl Wilson's death in 1998. He leads the Endless Summer Band and has created the Pet Sounds Band with musicians from Brian Wilson's touring group. "I've been gathering up the troops. Brian's excellent band," Jardine said. "We're all just dying to get back to work." His creative pursuits include a children's book published in 2005 and a solo album, A Postcard from California, released in 2010. David Marks and Bruce Johnston's roles. David Marks joined the Beach Boys when he was just 13. The 76-year-old guitarist played on early hits like Surfin' Safari and Surfin' USA before leaving in 1963. He stays out of the spotlight mostly, but reunites with the band occasionally. His notable appearances include the 50th anniversary reunion tour in 2012 and the Disney Plus documentary The Beach Boys premiere in 2024. Bruce Johnston, 82, stepped in as Brian Wilson's touring replacement in 1965 and performs with Mike Love's Beach Boys lineup today. His Grammy Award came in 1977 for writing Barry Manilow's hit, I Write the Songs. After a brief solo career, Johnston returned to the Beach Boys in 1978. How many of the Beach Boys are still alive? The Beach Boys' legacy lives on through 4 principal members: Mike Love, Al Jardine, Bruce Johnston, and David Marks. The group has lost 3 essential members. Dennis Wilson drowned in 1983. Carl Wilson died from cancer in 1998. And Brian Wilson passed away recently. How fans and family reacted to Brian Wilson's death. News of Brian Wilson's death sparked waves of grief from his inner circle and countless admirers worldwide. The Beach Boys founder's music legacy matched the deep effect he had on those who knew him personally. Carnie Wilson's emotional tribute. Wilson's daughter Carnie posted what many called the most heartbreaking tribute after her father's death. "I have no words to express the sadness I feel right now. My father was every fiber of my body," she wrote on Instagram, that captured her deep personal loss. She reflected on their special bond and wrote, "I've never felt this kind of pain before, but I know he's resting up there in heaven." or maybe playing the piano for Grandma Audrey, his mom. During a radio interview, soon after, Carney shared that her father stayed aware of his musical legacy in his final months and recognized his own songs as they played. "Whenever I'd visit, we'd listen to music together," she said. "His face would light up hearing those harmonies he created." Al Jardine's heartfelt message. Original Beach Boys member Al Jardine shared a touching statement about his 60-year musical partnership with Wilson. "Brian wasn't just a bandmate, he was my brother in harmony," Jardine wrote. He revealed to fans that he had visited Wilson just weeks before his death. "The last time we sat together, he hummed parts of California Girls and smiled that smile I've known since we were teenagers," Jardine remembered. His genius stayed strong even as his health declined. Social media outpouring from fans. Millions of fans shared memories on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook about how Wilson's music shaped their lives. People posted about listening to pet sounds to find comfort or gathered for impromptu memorials at beaches worldwide. Many expressed thanks for his musical breakthroughs. Young musicians offered some of the most touching tributes and named Wilson as their inspiration. Before Brian pop music had limits, one Grammy-winning artist wrote, "After him, those limits vanished forever." What Brian Wilson's legacy means for music history. Brian Wilson's legacy transcends his role as the architect of the Beach Boys. He stands as one of the most transformative figures in 20th century music, a visionary who elevated pop from disposable entertainment to a profound art form. His true genius was not just in writing catchy surf tunes, but in using the recording studio as an instrument itself, crafting intricate pocket symphonies that shattered the boundaries of what a 3-minute song could be. With albums like Pet Sounds, he single-handedly changed the trajectory of popular music, inspiring a generation of artists, most notably the Beatles, to explore new creative depths. His life was a study in contradictions. A man who created the most joyous and optimistic harmonies while battling a lifetime of inner demons, auditory hallucinations, and mental illness. This internal struggle, however, did not diminish his gift. It arguably fueled it, allowing him to create music of unparalleled emotional complexity and vulnerability. He gave voice to the bittersweet anxieties of adolescence and the existential ache of adulthood, all while wrapped in the most beautiful melodies imaginable. Ultimately, Brian Wilson's death does not mark an end, but a final poignant chord in a symphony that will play on forever. His work is now a permanent part of our cultural DNA, a testament to the idea that true artistry can overcome even the most profound personal suffering.